Good afternoon. My name is Marie Nuttall, and I'm coming to you live from Plein Air Easton headquarters. Today we have an award-winning Plein Air Easton competition artist. He has been juried into the competition, we know, 8 out of the last 21 years. You can see more of his work at the Eastern Shore Land Conservancy exhibit opening reception that takes place tomorrow evening, July 16th from 5 to 7 p.m. And you can also see some of his work here at the featured alumni artist wall as well. And of course, I'm talking about our friend John Eiseman. He hails from Hebron, Maryland, and he's been giving our demo today. One more programming note that I just want to mention: if you're feeling inspired by all the art and the artists around you, tonight at 4:30, we're having a paint-in, where we're encouraging people to paint or sketch live models here in the headquarters space, and we'll have some music playing, and you can have a drink or a cocktail and sketch live models for us. So without further delay, let's get to it. John Eiseman,
okay,
welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Marie. I'm very honored to be invited to be a select alumni this year. I got the best of both worlds this week. My granddaughters are visiting for a whole week. So I've got 3 tween girls staying at my home this week, and they're at a pool party today. And I get to participate in Plein Air Easton as a select alumni. So I get to sail with my granddaughters on the Chesapeake, and I get to paint pictures with Marie and you all. So it just doesn't get better than that. A friend of mine was given a talk one time about art, and we plein air artists on the circuit. And the quote she had is this: "I get to do this." This is what I get to do in retirement. Quick resume about myself. I got in trouble when I was in 4th grade drawing horses on my bedroom wall. My father was a Quaker man, and so instead of beating me, because we're not allowed to draw on our walls, he signed me up at the local Boys and Girls Club in 4th grade to take art lessons at the rec center down the street. And so on Saturday morning, instead of playing ball with my buddies, he took me down to Mrs. Balton's a couple years ago, guys. And all summer long, I had to weave baskets and make pottery and all sorts of stuff. And I come home to my father and I say, "Pop, I just want to learn how to paint horses. She's making me weave baskets." And he said, "I think Mrs. Balton's knows more about art than you do, so pay attention." That was my punishment. And I graduated from the Maryland Institute College of Art in 1981. And I was introduced to plein air painting by Raoul Middleman there, who used to take us out in the nature. There was no events in the country in 1981, and I've been plein air painting from a young adult to now a grandfather adult all my life. And now there are hundreds of plein air festivals. Easton is the Olympics, folks, of plein air painting, of the plein air painting world. It is the Olympics. So kudos to those people that are here. To be here, you kind of got to stick your landing, as my niece says, who's a gymnast. You got to stick your landing. So let's get to it today. I'm going to do a painting. I start with acrylic, and I lay in with acrylic, and I finish with oils. That's my process. I've got a painting over there called Outward Bound, and I'll talk about it as I go. But who here paints? Who here wants to paint? Who here just loves painting? Okay. So that way I ask 3 questions. By the 3rd one, everybody raises their hands, right? So here's what we do. I've done this a lot, and a lot of times people will say, "Oh my gosh." They look at a white canvas and they go, "Oh my gosh, what do I do?" So I have no aspirations today of painting a good painting, but what I do have the aspiration is exciting you all on how to start, how to get go. What do we do? What do we start? Here's my easel set up, and first, right off the bat, I don't have a white canvas, do I? That's what we call a toned canvas. I tone my canvas one of 2 ways: a warm tone or a cool tone. This is a warm tone. And that avoids the whole white canvas, stare you back in your eyes, what do I do thing. It also allows me to be halfway in the middle of the value range. Value is lights and darks. So if 1 is white and 10 is black, I'm starting somewhere around 3 or 4 right here. So I can go light or dark as I paint. It's just, it's ergonomically designed for the process of plein air painting. Remember, today I have an hour and a half, and my friend Ed is keeping time for me. But out in the field, I got about 2-3 hours max. And so I got to get her done. You make a decision and run with it. And so this week, my granddaughters are done, and we have what we call an art party in my studio. I lay down the tarp, I put old t-shirts of mine, and they come down to their ankles. It's the cutest thing you ever saw. And I get out my acrylic paints, and we paint. And I have one rule: there's no mistake in Poppy's studio. No mistakes. Just go do it. And so there's no mistakes out here, guys. Just do it. So if you're interested in doing it, do it. So let's get started. Okay, he put my thing on. I start with acrylics. I start with a very limited palette. It's a 5-gallon paint lid. I invented this. And here's my color wheel. I have white, gold, purple, and black. That's it. Now, I might start another painting with just green, orange, and white. But today, I'm just starting with this. I'm starting with a very limited palette because I'll come on top with oils. So it's very limited, okay? Very limited. I have no blue in there. I have no red in there. This is from another painting. So I have that, and that. This painting is Shady Side, Maryland. I did in Paint Annapolis last month. I did a couple of paintings in that little corner, and I'm going to do it today with you all. And let's just get started. I have a Take It easel set up right here. So the first thing we do is, where do we establish the horizon line? Let me give you a trick of the trade. With horizon lines, folks, never put it in the middle, right? Because it cuts the design in half and makes it uninteresting. So raise it or lower it. And I always tell people, raise it more than you think or lower it more than you think. Because I'm going to tell you something, and you'll see it by the end of this hour-and-a-half session, is by virtue of the process of painting, it will want to inch its way back to the center. It's just the natural proclivity of us humans, I guess, as we go to paint. So I'm going to, for this painting, I'm going to raise the horizon because there's a story I want to tell. And as I tell everybody before I get painting, when you stand before something, what story are you trying to tell? You're standing and you got a gazebo with a little bridge to it and a willow tree and ducks in there, and you got children playing over there. Slow your roll a little bit. What story you want? You want to tell the story of the bridge and the water? You want to tell the story of the ducks in the water? The children? Choose something. You can't do it all in a plein air painting. So a lot of times I'll be looking at it, and I have no desire to paint all the buildings, houses, boats. I've got an idea. I'm going to limit it to 3 boats, and I've got a story to tell, and I'm going to raise the horizon because I really like this. So I'm going to play with this, the water and reflection, okay? And you'll see why I like that in my painting over there. So let's just go. I'm going to take my purple. I've become known, I guess, for the purple and teal green guy. When people say, I know your paintings, because when I look across the room, it has nice purples and greens. I've tried to avoid that, and I always come back to it. You know, so maybe I'm the purple guy. So I've been called worse in my life, trust me, folks. So I'm going to just lay it in. Remember I said about the horizon? Let's lift it way up here and just go across. Who here has heard of the rule of thirds? I'm already there. 1/3, here's another third, roughly. Here's the third, here's the third. So I'm going to put my boats right there. And that nice yellow boat, I don't like that color, and the idea I got is probably going to be white. You're allowed to do that. You carry a license, it's called artistic license. I'm going to put my other one right there. So already it's starting the design process, okay? So I'm just going to quick lay it in. Bear with me. I think I told Nick wrong that the way I would stand, but since the picture's there, am I okay like this, Nick? Okay. Okay, I got boat here, so let's just get a drawing in here real quick. Acrylic's dry, darker. Remember, I like this, so I've got this thing, it's lining right up. And it's going to come way off there. Okay, and then this boat sits behind it. Take drawing classes, because I'm confident of my drawing skills. That's one thing you got to be confident of. And you'll notice on the reference picture, remember I painted this before, so I have a notion. I rarely paint from photographs, rarely. I am a nature guy. And so I'm doing this for the demo purposes. Okay. I think I want that boat back in the corner. It's going to be white. I never use pure white. I add some gold to it, and that's going to be right in there. That highlight's going to be right there. This highlight's going to be right there. And just a little trick, the reflection in water is always a little darker, so I'm going to make it a little greeny, or I don't have blue, so how do you make green? Black. Remember, this is acrylic, so it's drying right in front of me. Okay? I'm going to hint at the buildings back there. And they're going to live, here's the pier with pilings. I'm going to add some pilings over here because I see them and I need to anchor down this side. That building is going to live, it's going to interrupt that space. Go back, and I'm going to bleed it outside the canvas because I don't want you to pay too much attention. I just want it to be there. Okay, tree line back here. These trees are closer, they're going to be a little taller. That's my lay-in. I'm turning the wrong way, Nick. I'm sorry. Are we good? Okay. That's my lay-in. I know where I'm going from here. So let's just start painting, and I'll talk as I paint. Okay, remember I have a limited palette. So the light's coming from this way, right? I mean, I'm standing here on a pier in a cove. So light's coming from there. I always let a little bit of the canvas bleed through because that's why I tone it. And over here, purple is going to bleed into that. Sky is always lighter than the foreground. So let's add a little bit of white because I know it's going to dry darker. Okay. So the water heaviness over here. Now remember, I was here. I painted this, and I'm painting from reference. So I'm going to do some tricks only with experience. But I know it's darker here than it is back there, and it gets greeny back there because it's suffused with light way back there. And I think I'm going to need your help here a second. Oh, that's a nice color green without having green on my palette at all. Can I grab you up here a second, Ed? I know what's going to happen here. In that bag that's sticking out, there's some white acrylic paint in there. Everybody, this is my friend Ed. Let's give Ed a round of applause for being helpful. Huh? Okay. Okay, and then up front, remember this is shady side. Well, that's going to be nice. If you can just pour a hunk right in there for me, please. Yep, thank you, my friend. It's going to be darker up front. Remember that highlight of that white right there? With this, when it dries, it'll be darker and it will read as a light. This is why I tone my canvas. That's the background. Let's get a little darker. That building there is going to be problematic, but we're going to fix that. Okay, I'm just going to make it a dark right now. I'm going to make this a dark area right now, which is going, as you can see in the reference photo, it's going to reflect down in here. I know it looks like a mess right now, guys. But this is, remember I said to my granddaughters, there's no mistakes in Poppy's studio. There's no mistakes here. But I think you can see where I'm going with this. Okay, the waves up front, I'm going to do a little trick here, because remember, my fidelity is to the painting, not to a photograph or not to the scene in front of me. It's what makes the painting work. I'm simply using nature as the tool to get there, to tell the story I want to tell. I want to tell the story of a shady side cove. I'm standing in the corner of a shady side cove. And so the waves are sort of going horizontal, but I'm going to do something here, because I want you to go visit here. There's where I want you to visit and live. So I'm going to have these waves, remember, as they go back, they get closer and closer together. That's called aerial perspective. Okay, let's do something rowdy here, guys, because I know when you're up front, you know how when you look down at water, you can actually see through it, can't you? Particularly here in the Chesapeake. You can see the golds and the browns underneath. So let's do that. Now, even though it's gold, it'll read as a dark, trust me. And I'm not worried about blending things in right now. I'm worried about laying in the canvas, okay? Now, there's an expression in industrial painting. I worked for paint companies for years. I was also a house painter. You ever heard of cutting in? Where you have an area and then you cut into it, and it will create its own edge. So let's go back to that nice, remember this color right here that we like? I don't know if we like it, but I like it. And it's a little too dark, because remember, acrylic's dry, darker, okay? I'll push that way back. This is going to be a problem area for me, so let's fix that now. If you don't fix it now, you won't fix it later. So I'm suggesting that that tree sits in the background. It's going to be a little darker over here than those over there, and it's going to reflect, because it is reflecting there. I'm just imagining that pier, all those piers and everything, and it's just a sailboat moored, as Bob Ross, who likes him? Happy little sailboat moored in the corner here. Let's make it darker. Too dark. No mistakes. No mistakes. That's why I had Ed come up and give me lots of white. Remember, I'm only using, actually, only 2 colors, guys. Black doesn't really count. That's going to be nice. I know I can predict that just from based on experience. But there's some pebbles and stuff underneath there. I know because I was there. And they get smaller as they go back. And this is going to be in a shadow over here. And the shadow is cool. And it's going to cut across. Make it a little gray. What's the complement of purple, guys? Pardon me? Yellow. So I make purple a little gray by adding some of the gold yellow. This is in the shadow, a shady side. That's the story I want to tell. Okay. That's going to be some light coming in here. That's a pylon. That's going to be whatever it is. See, that's already starting to establish itself, isn't it? Okay. Now, let me finish the drawing here a second. So I've laid it in. I'm going to tighten up this drawing a little bit. Just tighten things up a little bit. My aspiration, I have no aspiration to make this a realistic painting vis-a-vis rendered realistically. I am counting on some drawing skills. I do want it to represent boats. I don't want you to be confused. I don't want you to go, is it hanging right side up? I mean, I am landing in a representational area. But the aspiration of this painting is not to be realistic. Does that make sense to everybody here? And that's what I'd like to teach you all whenever you look at paintings. One of the first questions whenever you look at paintings, whether it's an art museum, Plein Air Easton, or anywhere, look at the painting and go, what is this painting's aspiration? Does this painting have pretense to be super realistic? No. Does it have, you know what I mean? Ask that question about the painting. Okay, so I'm going to do a little trick. I turn it upside down. Some artists put it in the mirror because they want to see, okay, I'm liking the start of it, but it needs some weight over here, doesn't it? I mean, you can tell from a design point of view that it's going to need some weight over here. Okay? Let's do that. Let's add some weight over there. Okay, and I'm saying those piers, okay. I'm going to come out there. Not much. I just need weight. Okay, that's better. Now that means this is out of place. That's not working. That's not working. So let's shift it because I need that weight there. So we're going to take this and move it over here. Much better. Do you all agree with me? That's better, isn't it? Okay. Okay, Ed, I think I'm going to need your help up here in a second. Okay, here's the color of the canvas. I'm going to leave that be. It's almost reading as orange, isn't it? That's a warmth. That could be the warmth hitting the top of the roof. Now think about this a second. Let the painting dictate what you do. I mean, even if say the roof is that green color roof, this is working. Why would I want to paint that green? You understand what I mean? I'm just using nature as a, I'm using nature as a tool to get there. So I'm done. I'm done laying this in an acrylic. Who here's actually painted a lot before, or some? Okay, yeah, Ed, if you can do me a favor, please. If you can dry this. Okay, thank you. Why do I do this? Who here has experience when you get darker and darker or lighter and lighter in a painting as you go on, it gets muddy and muddy and muddy, right? It always gets muddy. It always turns into that camouflage gray, green, brown, and you go, no, 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 I wanted it to be a deep, rich brown or a light, creamy yellow. Now it's just like gunky mud, right? So how do we avoid that? I remember asking an art teacher in 1981, how do I do this? And he goes, John, why don't you lay in an acrylic in limited palette and bright colors, and that serves as your underpainting, so you're not working into it again. You'll see when we get to that blue, the boat, that is purple shadow. Of course, shadows aren't that bright purple, but I can lay into it now. You understand what I'm saying? And when I came across with the water, remember I said I like the waves going up, pointing to the boats? I just used pure yellow, almost dark yellow, didn't I? Now I'm gonna get more subtle with it, but I'm no longer worried about mud. Does that make sense to you? Okay, so I lay in with acrylic and top coat with oil. If you're a beginner, please don't do that. Because I am jumping ship to a whole new level of painting now. I'm switching mediums from water-based medium to oil-based medium. So I'm gonna put this down. I'll clean up later. Pardon me? I'm deaf.
Clean up later.
Yeah. Okay, is she getting dry there? Okay. And if you could do me a favor, there's some paint thinner. If you can pour it into that little bucket right there, I'd appreciate that. Okay, where's my brush right there? Okay. See this bucket? Paint that. Okay. Into the little bucket. Okay, thank you. Okay, when I do this outside, usually sunshine will dry this off immediately. Sometimes if it's damp or early morning sometimes, my wife hates it. But I'll turn it upside down, turn the defrost on high and bake it. And so now in front of my defroster, right in front of the window, is all these cute little colors where it drips down. And I said, sweetie, paint pays for that car. That doesn't really fly. I still get in trouble, but. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. I've gotten the oil out. Okay. Here's my little brush carrier. You can tell it's got some mileage. Okay. I'm not worried about details right now. This palette, Vlad Duchev, who did a demo yesterday, he's showing over there as well. He designed this palette. It's big, it's designed for me, people like me. So I can take it, and I have 3 or 4 different types of easels. I'm using a big industrial one because I got time to set up. But this is just a lay-in here, but I want you all to look at as I paint, and then at the end, please walk over to my painting over there and see how I get there from here. But let's keep going here a second. I used to teach at Salisbury University, and I would tell students, don't worry about small brushes and hold several brushes in their hand at the same time. Okay, so the light's coming from this direction. I'm going to go straight for, I know I have several yellows, several blues, several reds, several green. But all you really need is 2 yellows, cool and a warm yellow, like lemon yellow and cadmium yellow medium. That's all you need. I've got Naples, and I'll explain as I go, talk as I go. Cobalt Blue and Ultramarine Blue, Alizarin Crimson and Cadmium Red medium, white and burnt umber. That's all you need. It may be sap green, and you can get anywhere in the spectral universe from there. So let's start establishing some reality. Be careful. Okay. I'm going to work from the sky on down. Let's just take care of the sky. Okay. Oh, that's nice. I'm right there. Light's coming from this way. I'm not going to cover everything up. Let's see if that nice, remember when I first showed it to you, that background color, which is this, it looks different now, doesn't it? Okay. And I always sneak in the color to let the edges make themselves. There are 3 things you need to worry about with painting it with color. Hue, value, and intensity. Hue is whether it's how light it is, light or dark. No, that's the color, I'm sorry. Value is how light or dark it is. Is it 1 or 10 on the value scale? Hue is what color is it, and intensity, or chroma, some people call it. So I'm seeing red. Is it light red or dark red? Is it bright? Is it stop sign red or dull red? I mean, if you can answer and adjust those questions, you're good. Let's drop some sky holes in there. Drop some sky holes. Everybody knows what I mean when I say sky holes? Susie Baker, a famous artist, said one time, try not to make it stupid shapes. So these trees back here, they are not trees, they are shapes in my thinking. Does that make sense to everybody here? Okay, so this is a nice lemon yellow going over there. So if that lemon yellow is over there, I'm going to drop that lemon yellow ish, but darker down here. Not much, just to start relating so it can start relating with each other. Okay? Okay, I'm going to push this blue over here to the purple side. Don't be afraid to use paint. Do not try to save money. One thing I like to see is lots of paint. This is, oh, wow, that's okay, too dark. That's a nice color, isn't it, guys? And I'm letting the underpainting bleed through, fuzz the edges. That's way back there, so it's not going to be hard edges. I'm not really worried about blending, but I'm going to bleed it into there. Okay, so that's starting to read as believable, but let's have fun. Let's drop a well-lit situation. That might work. Let's leave that be. Okay, so if that's up there, what's going to be down here? A little bit darker, huh? But it has to look like water, guys. It's water. It has to feel like water. That's too bright. So how do we tone down green? What's the complement of green, guys? Add a little bit of red to it. Much better, but it's still a little dark. I'm saying there's poles back there. I'm just cutting in, letting some of that color that's underneath live. That's going to be like that. If that's like that, then not sure yet. Not sure, guys. Not sure yet. I'm just cutting in. I'm not worried about detail or even drawing. I laid my drawing in. I was pretty confident of that. And as it comes forward, I see a problem already, so let's address that. Let's add in a highlight. Remember this color up here? That's going to be my highlight. Okay, we'll leave that be. It's tough painting from a side. Okay, so that sky's up there. Let's have fun. If that cloud's up there, then I'm saying this right here is going to come right into here like this, and it will actually help define that. Okay, and remember that activity up here. Let's get rowdy. I'm also operating from memory, guys. I did several paintings last month of this standing in this corner at different directions. What's the complement of green? I always put orange and red in the corner because whenever I use greens, because there's a lot of greens in nature, always dip a little bit of cadmium orange or cadmium red into your greens just to make it organic, or it'll look too plastic. You understand what I'm saying? So, ooh, too green. Okay. Much better, much better. See that? See that? Much better. Okay, waves move, and they're bigger up here. They're bigger up here than they are as we go back. That's nice, isn't it? That's starting to work, isn't it? Okay. See, I'm letting the painting be the painting. There's a story I want to tell, but I'm letting the painting be the painting. I hope that makes sense to people. And as we go back, they get closer and closer. And if I'm saying that's a dark side of green, then so too is it here. I just want this pier over here to be almost suggestive. Because remember, the problem wasn't that it needed a pier, the problem was that it needed weight over there. Remember I was talking about weight when I turned the painting upside down? So it needed something. I could have put a buoy there, I could have put a duck there swimming there. It needed something. And it had to be representational because the aspiration of this painting is representation. Okay, so I'm liking this right here. So it's darker up front. It's tough painting from the side, but I'm doing it. Okay, so that goes back in there. And I'm going to let that pier establish itself. Okay, it's organic. Water moves, move your brush. Water moves, move your brush. My wife comes out to the studio sometime when I'm painting, and I move a lot when I paint. I'm deaf in my right ear, so I can't hear it. Sometimes I'm like dancing in front of my painting, and I have the music going on. I turn around and I go, "Oh, sweetie, how long have you been there?" She goes, "Go ahead, finish dancing. You're doing fine." But it's moving. So okay, this is nice, I think. That's a nice start. I'm digging the brushstroke and mark making. That's nice up there. There's some nice coloration going on. But they're like two separate. Let's bring them together now. Okay, let's bring them together. I got my blue. I'm going to add a little bit of Viridian. I don't want it to be too green, so the complement of blue is orange. I'm going to dab some orange in there so it grays itself a little bit. Oh, very nice, very nice. Oh, sometimes I get excited. I have fun, you know what I mean? So this is very nice. Cut it across. Oh, that's nice. Cut it across things. Let's connect the dots here. Let's connect them. Okay, I'm saying it's on the That's nice, isn't it? See how that's starting to work, guys? Okay. Okay. It's starting to dapple. Water dapples, it moves, right? So it's darker over there. So let's darken that up. But let's keep within the same hue family, hue meaning color, and darken it up. I usually have a medium, but I'm not bringing it out today so it can set up. Okay, that's too tealy, right? That's not right. You know, when I get dressed to go out and I put on a pair of pants, and I put on a nice white shirt, and I know I'm wearing my blue jacket, and I put on that tie. Ooh, no, that doesn't, you just feel it. You know it doesn't go. So I need to tone that down to almost a gray. Much better. Much better. I'm going to leave that there because there are no mistakes. Where? Poppy Studio. There's no, because remember, this is in shadow over here. See, do you see what I did there? Okay, because I know this is in shadow over there, so that's starting to talk now, right? Now, let's get a little bit more, let's go back here to the trees. Remember, these trees are not over here. They're a half a mile away. So, nope. What's the complement of violet, guys? Yellow. I'm going to suggest that the shadow side of these trees are almost violet-y. I mean, I started with violet, right? Why not? Very nice. Very nice. Nice. See, that's too dark now, isn't it? Because that's another half mile away. So let's add. I use Naples yellow a lot to lighten things up. Ed, you listening to this? I have Naples yellow right next to my white because a lot of times when you use white, it makes everything chalky, whereas Naples yellow will maintain some chroma and still lighten it up. What time is it, Ed? Much better. No, it's too light. There we go. Let that, don't cover up all that nice stuff going on in there. Okay, that sits back. Since I did that, that means that's a tad too dark. So let's lighten that up. See, once you add one brush stroke, everything changes. This is a little too dark, isn't it? In value. So let's lighten up. No. Try not to cover everything up when you change your mind, because you leave things poked through, and it'd be nice. See that little color right there? I'm just going to leave that there. Why not? That's better. That helped. Okay, now those trees read back there. Let's address these boats. Let's address these boats. It's a little smaller brush. Okay. No. I'm still saying it has a violet-y feel. What do you all think? There we go. It has a violet-y feel. And it is reflecting some of this light up here, so let's do that. Let's add a little bit of that up in there. You see what I just did there? You see that versus that? So it actually reads like it's going back in space a little bit. Okay. Nope. Yeah, much better. See, there is no aspiration for this being realistic. That needs to be darker, doesn't it? I gotta let that sit a little bit. I'm just painting now. Starting to live it a little bit. Now there's a problem here. So if that's there, I'm saying that water needs to be violetish, but with green in it. Nope, too light. Much better. Much better. Let's do something here. It's starting to bother me. I'm gonna add some red in here. Try to sneak red into your painting. Okay? Whenever you can. Even Winslow Homer used to do that. If you look at his paintings, even if there was nothing red in his paintings, he would put little red dots in there. Okay. That's nice. Right? That's nice. See what happens? Now, if that's the light side, then the dark side, I'm saying, is Alizarin Crimson with a little bit of green to gray it down a little bit. Okay. That's nice, right? We're having fun now. That's better. Okay. See what that just did? That one line just defined the entire side of that boat, didn't it? Okay. Now I'm saying in red reflected in the water is never red, just for the record. I'm going to use green. There we go. Needs some weight down there. Okay. Let's address this over here. This is awkward. I'm just tightening up the ship right about now. That's better. That was not very well drawn, that right there. You see, I'm not really worried about masts or anything like that. I'm just having fun now, guys. I'm painting some curlicues in the water because I'm saying water has curlicues. But not over here in the shadow. Bear with me. That's better. What I'm trying to do here is a painting like this, folks, is what I still haven't touched that roof. I don't really need to touch that roof yet, do I? I mean, just leave it be, right? This by no means is a finished painting. It's a nice start. Let's critique it a little bit. What does it need? What do we need to do now? Most of my paintings are what I call two sittings. Whereas I paint like this. When you look at my painting over there, it started like this. And then I got to let that oil, I let the acrylic set, then I let the oil set, I critique it, maybe grab an artist like Ed and say, help me here. And he would say something, I know what you were doing with those curlicues in the water, John, but they're really not working right now. Okay? They're not. Okay, so, but there's nothing I can do right now. That's wet, gooey paint. I can keep on going and we get that mud you were shaking your head at that we all know happens. So I kind of got to let that set. Little trick, I used to work for Rust-Oleum. I normally carry Rust-Oleum satin rust inhibitive spray, clear spray. I would spray that. It would set it up real quick and I could keep painting. I am not going to spray aerosol in this house because it would drive everybody out. But let's critique it a little bit. What does it need? What's bothering you? You're not going to hurt my feelings. What's your name, my friend? Liam? Lynn. I'm not going to go home and say, I'm never painting again. Lynn really hurt and stepped on my toes. I'm never going to paint again. Darn it, Lynn. So what does it need, Lynn? Ed, what's going on here? Talk to us. Yeah. Okay. I think that's a huge point because right now it's not even drawn well. So let's, if I put the red up there, let's take Ed's. I mean, that helps, but watch this. Ed's right. Ed's right. Okay. I mean, that's a start. But I mean, I have to establish something, okay? But as you can see, it's gooey paint. I'm starting to get muddy in that sailboat, but you're right, Ed. That sailboat needs resolved. It's not even drawn right or rendered correctly. Would that be fair, Ed? Would that be fair? Okay. Lynn, what does it need? What does the painting need? Not allowing as much as that goldish, I would tend to agree with you. It was a good idea, but it didn't work. Okay, move on. That's a good point. I think it was better before I did that. You know what I mean? When it was just brief. Okay, I think you're right. There's nothing I can do right now. I'd either have to spray set it so I could keep working because it would just get muddy. Let's try. So less yellow and back to where it was the grayish green, right, Lynn?
I'm saying lean more towards your oil color.
I'm hard of hearing. Say that.
Lean towards your oil color, your greener greens, and less of that tannish under.
Okay, okay, let's do that. I think Lynn was right. That's better. That's better. We're not there yet, are we, Lynn? Contrast between what? Okay. Okay. I think I like that area best, but I think I know what Lynn's talking about. See, the trick is you're not drawing waves, you're fixing, you're solving problems. Every decision is solving a problem. So everything Lynn said had nothing to do with waves, had everything to do with values and such like that. He didn't say you need to draw a wave better. That's not what he said. Yes?
Your foreground is too busy compared to the mid-range of the water.
Too busy versus back here? Yes. I agree with you. I agree with you. In reality, well, it is reality. I would let that sit or I would tack it up. I agree with you. Because right now it would start turning mud if I went in there. But I agree with you. Actually, that's much better. Make it less busy. See, what we're doing at this point in a painting is solving problems. And I will do just what I am doing now. I would be out in the field painting, and I know Vlad is right down the corner, or Ed's right down the corner. I would go, come on, Ed, I'll buy you a soda. Let's talk about our work and figure this out and talk to each other. That's better, but I agree with you. Anything else, guys? Yes. The back shoreline? Let's do that. I agree with you. Someone yelled out, yeah. Okay. Just a second. Let's do that. A little bit of brown, a little bit of blue purple to keep it gray back there. Pretend there's some bleach, piers back there. Okay. Just a second, please, so I can hear. I got to finish this. Pardon me? I'm not sure about that yet. Maybe a tad, like, starting to get muddy now. This is where I would go away for the day and come back tomorrow. It's at this point in a painting I would stop. Ernest Hemingway said one time, he always stops at a good idea so that tomorrow morning when he picks up writing again, he starts from a good idea. I mean, this is a nice start. I'm digging that orange roof. I'm just digging that. It's at this point I would start. Here's a couple things I like. I like how that's bleeding through. But who's the gentleman that told me to blur, make it less busy? I agree. Yeah, I agree with that. But I left some through. So I'm going to stop and let that percolate for a day. You understand what I'm saying? Any other criticisms? How's this area for people? Pardon me? It's okay for now, for me. Isn't it okay? Okay, do the boats look, there's a problem with this boat behind it, right? It's not dark enough. Let's just add a dark. Just to, I mean, that helps. That helps. But see what I'm doing now is I'm starting to fussy budget. Okay, most of my work is what I call two sittings, unless I'm working really small. But this was a lot to take in. I agree with Ed that boat needs, in the background, needs work. I like the idea that it's there. Yes.
I believe the reflection on the sailboat a little bit more before you went back up in.
You're not believing that?
There was a lovely light that came down. Now I don't see it.
Okay. So I messed it up.
You just
I'm teasing you. I'm teasing you. There's no mistakes in Poppy's studio. Yeah, but the problem before is there was a drawing problem, a fundamental drawing problem. So I fixed the drawing problem, and now I got another problem. I tend to agree with you. And so that's why, I mean, this is very wet. Anything I were to do in here, let's try to fix that, though. Let's take your critique. And maybe go back. I mean, it's better. That's better. But I'm starting to fuss budget. I'm digging that orange roof, man. Yes?
You said you wanted the reflection in the water of the booms on land, and I don't see any evidence of it yet.
Okay, repeat.
You said you like the reflection of the booms that are on the land and the reflection in the water, and I don't see any evidence yet.
You mean over here? Yeah. Oh, I haven't even added that kind of stuff that would be coming down here. I haven't even added that. I mean, I haven't even approached that. that would be coming down here like that. That was nice, actually. I mean, that would be coming up out of there, but I got to let that dry. Otherwise, it would do what that sailboat did to me. I know that from experience. I got wet paint. How do I can't paint over the wet paint right now. Does that make sense to you? But yes, this would help out. Does this pier bother anybody? Let me answer my own question. I'm liking that. It's abstract. It simply does what I asked it to do. Remember I talked about what's the aspiration, what's the story I'm trying to tell? And at the very beginning, I said, when I turned the painting upside down, it was light there. I needed some weight there, didn't I? That's the word I used. I didn't use the word I need a pier there. I said I need weight there. So I established that, and that actually like works. I mean, it's abstract, isn't it? So the aspiration of this painting is not to be super real. I mean, I could write, temptress on the boat, and then all of a sudden I'm ruining, I'm not going to do that because I'm really telling the story. Let me step back. I keep on thinking I'm attached to a wire. I know what would help that boat in the background. The foreground's much better now that I obfuscated all the busyness. Yes? Well, I don't know if I'd put it there, but like little activity, yes. That would be the last 6 brush strokes I make in a painting like this. I'm nowhere near it, but I mean, I get what you're saying. It needs some activity. I'm going to do something here. What time is it, Ed? Okay, I got time. This is fun. Okay. I said that the highlight, remember the white highlights are almost yellow, remember? Let's do something. I think this color doesn't go very well. So let's try something. I'm going to go back to my original violet. Okay. Now, who mentioned that light is no longer working? You? Let's see if this does it. I've shifted the color. You understand what I'm saying? Is that better? Pardon me? Yeah, I changed the color around the sailboat from greeny to purpley. Purple and yellow being encompassed, so now that sailboat has more character. I'm still digging that orange roof. I'm just going to leave that alone. Yeah.
You see the shadow where the trees in the background on the water? Do you need that or not? I was just wondering.
You mean,
I don't know if you need it or not.
what I would do probably at this point, yes, you mean like reflections down in the water.
Right, you see it in the
Yeah, what I would probably do is when this dries, I would probably glaze down into here like this, and then come on top, so it would have a reflection of what's on top of it. But you can't put a glaze on wet paint. That's when I would use my Rust-Oleum spray, and then use real thin color glaze, Viridian green, and then Pardon me?
I'm sorry, why would you use a glaze for that shadow as opposed to painting it as you painted the other shadow?
So it will sit in the distance, and if you look at it, it sort of is a blurry, yeah, okay. And experience, years of experience tells me that that would work better, to be honest. So I just put purple back there. See what that does? That doesn't work right there, but it works over here. But I know what you mean. I would tend to agree with you that it would come in like this, down, and come like that, down. Not much. I'm starting to fuss now. But this is working better now, isn't it? Okay, I'm starting to fuss budget, folks. In the spirit of a demo, I wanted to get in an hour and a half, my acrylic activity, my lay-in activity, my acrylic activity, and my oil activity. I would normally have a 2.5 hour budget. So I actually, in nature, I mean, I'm a fast talker and stuff. I would be slower in how I do it. Because I made some mistakes in drawing in this. I mean, this boat right here is really not sitting in the water. It's sort of leaning over. You feel me on that one? Does that feel like, you understand what I mean? So, I mean, it's all very fixable, but here's some nice areas. I mean, that red with the greeny gray in there, I mean, that works. You know what I mean? And that orange roof, I'm digging that orange roof. I mean, remember, that was the original color of the canvas. And it is reading now as light smacking off the roof, isn't it? And we don't even know, I mean, look, that's not what the nature does, although it could be a brown roof maybe. The sky's a little muddy. I'm digging the orange roof, and I like this abstract pier. I mean, my artist friend Lynn or Ed or someone would come up and go, John, whatever you do, leave that pier alone. So I'm going to leave that pier alone. Here's what I'm going to do, folks, is I'm going to work on this painting. I'm going to spray it and set it up and work on this painting. And I'll hang it up tomorrow afternoon. Here, I'll work on it tomorrow morning underneath my outward bound painting there to show you how I can fix something like this. And I'll bring it to fruition to the best of my abilities. I've made some gross mistakes. That boat I have to square up, right, Ed? I mean, it has to sit in the water. Boats have weight, and they sit in the water, and they sit square, unless they're filled with water and they're tilted over. But that's not the story I'm telling here. But that's it. And I'm going to give myself a little excuse. Painting from the side like this is very tough. Normally, I'm painting, yeah, see, normally I would square that up. Like that angle's wrong. That angle is wrong. It's more like that. That's way off. There we go, more like that. I mean, that's better, right? It's sitting squarer, but it needs some work. And I will work on that and hang it up, whether it's successful or not. I'll give you my word on that, that even if it's not like my best work, because here's what happened, guys. I mean, people here that paint, people see my website or see the paintings I put in frames and hang up, and they go, ooh, John, that's great, that's great. how come every one of your paintings so good? I said, that's only stuff I put on my website. I got an attic in my house with hundreds of paintings that you'll never see because they're not failures. I keep telling my granddaughters that, but they are not good, not good. Sometimes I'm a big sports fan, and my granddaughters are actually playing ball and everything, and softball and everything. And Maddie, my 10-year-old, she went 0 for 3 the other day. Her world was coming down. I know her world's not coming down. You know her world's coming down. But tell a 10-year-old, 0 for 3, it does suck. Okay, but suit up tomorrow and play again, because here's my philosophy. I love telling this story. The greatest hitter of all time failed 6 out of 10 times, right? The greatest hitter, Ted Williams, in terms of average and stuff, failed 6 out of 10 times. All he did was bat 400, 406, and he's the best of all time. So I said to my granddaughter, sweetie, you struck out 3 times. Come home, we're gonna get a bushel of crabs. I did. And we're gonna have crabs and ice cream, and tomorrow suit up again and try again. So let me say that, what does that have to do with painting? 6 out of 10 times. If I paint 10 paintings and 3 of them are rock stars, I'll show you 3. And then you go, wow, God, everything you did this week, John, is good. I just didn't show you the other 6. Fair enough? So I tell my girls, granddaughters, because we have art parties so that the grown-ups can go off and play. I love it. There's no mistakes in Poppy's studio. And I'll close, if I may, close with this story. There's no mistakes. I'm sitting there with 3 girls. They're 13, 11, and 9. And they got my smocks on. I got acrylic paints out. They can eat that stuff, and it's not going to hurt them. Mom's not allowed in because Mom would go crazy because they got paint all over everything, and it wipes off. So Mom's not allowed in Poppy's studio. Just us kids are allowed in the studio. And I set up a little flower vase in the middle just like that. And I'm painting with them. And the 13-year-old is perfect. The barrette matches the shoes, it's just, she's 13. And so she's painting the flowers and everything. And the middle one, I love them all. You don't have favorites. But she beats to a different drummer, and she goes, Poppy, I don't want to paint flowers. I said, oh, okay, Maddie, what do you want to paint? She goes, I want to paint a rainbow. Kylie says, Maddie, there's no rainbow in Poppy's studio. And Maddie says, there is in my head. I say, sweetheart, paint the rainbow. You know what I mean? There's no mistakes in Poppy's studio. So I don't know if this will be successful. I think I can pull it around. Let me show you what I think are the strong areas. I think once I square those boats up a little bit and not get detail oriented and keep it loose and brief vis-a-vis this pier, as long as I keep the painting living under the aspiration, because that's nice. Wouldn't you agree, Ed? I mean, this is nice over here. As long as I keep the painting living within its own aspirations. If all of a sudden I went there and I started getting my little pen and ink out and started making then it's living outside its aspirations. That's what I'm saying. I need to square that boat up. Who mentioned the problem with this? I need to better draw that boat in the background. I need to bring that, I need to fix that. Okay. Leave that alone and leave this alone. There's a couple of brush strokes I can adjust. But I like the man's criticism because as soon as I started covering up, was it you? Started covering up all the busyness. Wow, good job. So this is strong. This is strong. This whole, that's going to be strong. I'm digging the orange roof. I'm going to leave that be. I'm going to blur the sky out a little bit so that the sky becomes just a band is what I'm going to do across. I don't think it needs the busyness in the sky. This is the things I'm going to do. But I think I can pull this off. And I will do it. I will spend another 2 hours on it tomorrow morning. I'm going to let it sit up. I'll put it in a frame and I will hang it underneath my painting. Now, a couple things I would like to mention. I told you I would close, but I talk a lot. I talk for a living. Another thing happens with oil and acrylic. For those here who are a little bit more experienced painters, like Ed, I know is experienced. Acrylic is a plastic, right? It's water-based paint. Acrylic paint is nothing more than melted down Tupperware. That's what acrylic is. It's a copolymer. It looks like plastic, it acts like plastic, it behaves like plastic. Oil paint is organic. It's made from vegetable resins, so it looks organic, it acts organic, it is organic. So we got plastic versus organic. We got Rembrandt versus Andy Warhol. I mean, we got 1600 versus, you know, DuPont nylon, okay, because that's what we're talking about. Sometimes, if you're lucky, and I want you all to look at my painting on your way out over there. When you let the acrylic bleed through, it becomes a retinal experience and not a pictorial one. By that I mean a pictorial, and Monet did this with his Impressionism. You know it's a sailboat next to a bridge when you're talking about Rembrandt, but something starts to sparkle and light up in your eyes, doesn't it? I'm a Rembrandt fan. That's a retinal experience, not a pictorial. You're no longer looking at a sailboat. You're no longer looking at a bridge. You are looking at a painting experience. That's why we call it art and not coloring. So sometimes I have found with my work, and others, Nancy Tankersley does it as well, sometimes that organic versus plastic starts to work with each other and talk with each other, and you get a retinal experience and not just a pictorial one. I got it a couple times in that painting over there. And that's serendipity. Sometimes you can't plan for things. It's like poetry. It's serendipity. It works. Where the acrylic underneath is vibrating against the oil on top, and it sinks. And now we're no longer talking about water ripples. We're talking about a painting experience. So in that painting over there, I want you to particularly look at the water and how the oil and the acrylic is working together. That's why I brought it in. And I will hang this painting up midday tomorrow back here at Easton, or probably 3 o'clock, because the girls got a softball game at 11 o'clock in Salisbury, and I want to go to that. So that's my demo. Sometimes you hit it out of the park, and sometimes you go 1 for 3, and sometimes you go 0 for 3. I don't think this is 0 for 3. Do you think it's 0 for 3? Right now, it's one. It's 1 for. It needs some work. Ed, it needs some work. It needs some work? Okay, it needs some work. Thank you, Ed, for being polite to me. It needs some work.
I just wanted to ask, what do you think about water-based oils?
That's a good question. I'm going to say this. I worked in the paint, coatings, and resins industry for 40 years. Duron, Sherwin-Williams, Rust-Oleum for a long time. I'm actually an expert in the manufacturing processes of coatings, resins, how film build is made, how solutions are made vis-a-vis film building, which is what we're making here. The only problem I see with water-reducible oils right now, they're great for those that are sensitive towards solvents, but it's still only 1 generation old. We do not know the archival properties of water-reducible oils. We just don't. They're 1 generation old. Having said that, the paint industry, Rust-Oleum, Glidden, PPG, Sherwin-Williams, MAB paint, the paint industry, architectural coatings, industrial coatings, came out with water-reducible oils 30 years ago. Thought they were going to take over the universe. How come you can't find it on the shelves? How come Sherwin-Williams doesn't have water-reducible oil for their painters to use on the shelf? Because there's some problems with it. There's some archival problems, there's some film building problems, there's some solution problems. So to answer your question, we don't know yet. Now, Beth Baith makes some phenomenal images with it. Charlie Hunter makes some phenomenal, look at Baith's paintings here. Phenomenal images. The only question, I have to keep it real since I do know a lot about the forensic chemistry behind coatings and resins, is it's only a generation old. It's only a generation old. So I've seen great things done with it. Look at Beth Baith's paintings. Phenomenal painting. 100 years from now, praise the Lord if Beth is still around, have a conversation with Beth on that one. We don't know. It shouldn't be a problem, but notice how I just said that. You know what I mean? My father got the sixth, he was only 36 years old in the very early 60s. He got the sixth heart bypass surgery in the world in Houston, Texas, from that same doctor that did the heart transplant. They were asked, and everything. He had news conferences. I was a boy. And they, you know, is this going to last? You know, the doctor's answer was, we don't know. It's only a generation procedure. I don't know why I told you that story. It does relate, but we don't know. From an archival point of view, we know from an image-making point of view, it's great. Look at Beth Bates' paintings. Look at Charlie Hunter's paintings. That's water reducible oil. It's great from a pictorial point of view.
Also, if you have limited space or you're in a situation.
I'm hard of it. Repeat that.
If you're in a limited space or you're in a situation where you have to clean up quickly.
Yes, well, and also some people are very sensitive towards solvents. I'm not. So anyhow, any other questions, technical questions? What? I use a Satin Painter's Touch 2X. It's just a satin polyurethane. And what it does is it commingles with the long oils of the oil-based paint and actually helps it set up real quick. You understand what I mean? Because the little molecules grab onto each other. So it's also a drying agent as well.